Good morning. I want to start with a question for you. What do the following artists have in common? Johann Sebastian Bach, Leonard Bernstein, Franz Schubert, Duke Ellington, Bobby McFerrin, Pink Floyd, Coolio, Megadeth, The Offspring, Tupac, and Kanye West. What do all those artists have in common? Well, the answer is that each of those artists has written and released a song which references our biblical text for this morning. Indeed, our text for this morning is perhaps one of the most well-known and perhaps cherished chapters of the whole entire Bible. Even for those that are biblically illiterate, in our Western culture, this chapter, this text, this theme of this text is woven into the fabric of Western culture, so that even those who did not grow up in the church have at least some knowledge, some inkling of this text. And for good reason. It's a simple psalm. It's a simple chapter of the Bible. And the central theme of Psalm 23 is really so attractive. It's so winsome. It is not surprising that many would gravitate towards Psalm 23. What is the central theme of Psalm 23? Rather than just tell you, I want to show you and lead us towards recognizing what is that central theme. Sometimes in the Psalms, the central theme is literally the central theme. That is, the psalmist has written the psalm such that it is literally at the center of the psalm. So if you look at your Bible in Psalm 23, there are 6 verses, so you do the math. The center is somewhere around verses 3 and 4, and if you think that, you'd be right. So the central theme of Psalm 23 is, in fact, in verses 3 and 4. But even thematically, there's a clue. There's a clue that guides us towards what that central theme is. Just skim. We'll read it in a moment, but just skim Psalm 23. What do you notice? If you had to pick a place where the text kind of transitioned, there's a bend in the river here, where would you pick? Well, if you look at verses 1 to 3, notice the pronoun. It's third person. The Lord is my shepherd. He makes me lie down. He leads me beside quiet waters. He guides me. But then in verse 4, there's a shift, a dramatic shift in intimacy. Verses 1 to 3, it's he. But then in verses 4 and following, notice what happens. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod, your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table. You anoint my head with oil. Did you pick it up? There's a shift between the third person, he, and the second person, you. And there's a shift in intimacy there. For example, parents, imagine you overheard that your children had said, yeah, my dad, he's great. He is a great dad. My mom, she is a wonderful mom. She meets my needs. She cooks my meals. She cares for me. That's touching. That's good. Some of you are like, I take that. But what if, instead of just overhearing it, your daughter comes to you and says, Mom, you are a great mom. You meet my needs. You care for me. For some of us, that would just cause tears to flow because it's so intimate. There's a shift from she or he to the you, and there's a shift in intimacy there. I think it's the same shift that we see in Psalm 23. So what is the central theme of Psalm 23? Again, it's in verses 3 and 4. It occurs right along that shift between he and you. I think the central theme is in verse 4, towards the end. You are with me. The comfort that flows from Psalm 23 comes from that central theme, the psalmist delighting in the comforting presence of his shepherd. Everything flows up towards that, and everything flows out of that in Psalm 23. You are with me. And that comforts the psalmist, and for ages that has comforted people who have read Psalm 23 and drawn close to Psalm 23. But that begs a question, doesn't it? Well, who is this you that is with me? And that's what we're going to explore today. Who is this shepherd that is with us? I want to suggest 3 characteristics of this shepherd, and that as we see these characteristics unfolded from the text, we will say, yes, that is comforting. I can see why Psalm 23 is so treasured by so many throughout the ages. So, let me read the text first all the way through, and then we'll pick out 3 characteristics of this shepherd. So Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not be in want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So who is this you in verse 4 that is with us? Let me suggest three characteristics. The first one we see in verse 1, the very first 5 words in English, the Lord is my shepherd. The word there, Lord, is the divine name of God, the one who has been, who always will be, the one who, in fact, created all things, including us. So there's an astonishing statement in verse 1a, that is, that this you that is with us is no less than our Creator. He's our Creator. Now just pause and think about this for a minute. Let the gravity of that statement impress itself upon your soul. The psalmist here, David, is saying that the Lord, the one who created all things in heaven and earth, that spoke it into being, the one who is in control of all of the universe, who's really big in a sense, is nonetheless our shepherd. There's a tension here. The Lord, that is our Creator, the one who is over all, sustaining all, creating all simply by speaking it, nonetheless, there's an intimacy there. He is our shepherd. There's a transcendence to God here, but yet there's a closeness here. The one who's in charge of everything, the Lord of all lords, the King of kings, the God of gods, he is my shepherd. There's an intimacy there. Last week, we spent a bit of time thinking about God's revelation through creation in Psalm 19, talking about how he has revealed himself through the heavens. There's a sense in which it's helpful to think about that again, even right now, as we try to take in, what does it mean that the Lord is our shepherd? I came across a video this week. I want to show you about 90 seconds of it, in which, at least for me, it resonates with my own soul when I think about, well, what do we mean when we say the Lord, our Creator, who created all things, who reigns over all things, who holds all things together? What does that mean? And then that should blow our mind when we think about he is our shepherd. So I'd like to show this next video, if we could show this. Did that make you feel? How did that video make you feel? I know when I watched it, I was like, well, how much bigger is the next star going to be? Then it's like a fourth of the screen. You're like, well, okay, that's big. How much is the next one? Big. But there's more to this video. I'll put it in the newsletter. But basically, it goes on. It says, it reminds us of what we talked about last week, namely that these stars are like in our I think, galaxy. Well, that's big. But then there are like hundreds of billions of other stars and hundreds of billions of other galaxies in the universe. In other words, this is only a small glimpse of creation, if you will. This is a small glimpse of what God has spoken into being, okay? So now download all of that, if you can, into your brain, and then put it into Psalm 23, verse 1. The Lord who created all this by speaking it is my shepherd. There's a tension there. It's like, wow. Which then, it should not be surprising then what happens next in the latter part of verse 1. The Lord is my shepherd. So download all that. You're like, wow, I shall not be in want. Well, of course you won't be in want, because if the Lord is your shepherd who creates all that by speaking it, of course you're not going to be in want. Sometimes I like to think about, if I had to be stuck for a long period of time in one store, which store would I want to be stuck in? And so initially my mind goes to like a furniture company or a mattress company in which I could have a nice bed to sleep upon. But then, common sense is like, no, you'd want to be stuck in like a place in the genre of Super Walmart, right? Because it has tons of food and it has probably beds or air mattresses somewhere, has grills, has everything you need. And it's like, well, yeah, I'd want to be stuck in Super Walmart because there's food, there's a lot of food there, and there's everything you need there. If I was stuck in Super Walmart, I would not be in want. How much more then, if the Lord is our shepherd, will we not be in want? Because this is the one who created all of that. I mean, on the earth, the earth is this big, and that star was this big, but of course, that's only a little bit of the picture. I mean, there's so much more to it. God has just created all of that, and of course, the psalmist goes on to say, I shall not be in want. Of course not, because the one who is your shepherd, the one in whom you abide, has created all of that. So the second idea is he is not only our creator, but our provider. And the psalmist parses and teases that out. What does it mean that he provides for us? Well, he shows us what that means in verses 2 and 3. Take a look at verses 2 and 3.